Sheet A, fourth quarter, 10b. We are solving quadratic equation with the quadratic formula. So the very first thing that we're supposed to do is find A, B, and C. So what does A equal? If it's x squared plus 6x plus 2 equals 0, what's A? 1. What's B? 6. And what's C? 2. Okay, now we're going to look at the discriminant. So b squared minus 4ac. So b squared means 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. So 36 minus 8 and 28 would be the discriminant. So how many solutions should I have? 2 solutions. And you'll find that that's the most common, that you do end up with 2. The other ones are possible, but they're kind of rare. All right, so let's go ahead then and take that information and plug it into the formula. We're going to write the formula from scratch until we get it memorized. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I look at my a, b, and c to fill this in. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of, and I can go ahead and use my 28, all over 2 times 1. Okay, so as a side note here, let's look at the square root of 28 before I proceed. Does it have any perfect square factors?
No, but 9 and...
Actually, it does have one perfect square factor. What is it? 4. So 4 times 7, right? Okay. So x equals negative 6 plus or minus. When I bring the 4 out, what does it come out as? 2, and then square root of 7 all over 2. Can I cancel anything out of all 3 terms? A 2. So that becomes a 3, that becomes a 1, that becomes a 1. So my final answers would be negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 7. You do not have to write it over 1. And there are 2 answers there, negative 3 plus the square root of 7 and negative 3 minus the square root of 7. But you can write it all as one set. Okay, questions about that? So on the back of sheet A, there are 6 extra problems. So let's look at this. For number 11, it says to evaluate, and it's 8 to the 2/3 power. Here's something that I want to make sure you understand. When you have a power up on top, you use it, they're both exponents, but that is like your typical exponent. Okay, the 2 is the exponent. The 3 I'm going to call the root. Okay, so here's the way this would look if I used a square root sign. Okay, I would draw a radical sign, but in this little V there, I would put my 3 because that's the denominator, that's my root. It's the 3rd power, or it's the 1/3 power basically. The cube root of, and 8 to the 2nd. And you can do this a couple of different ways. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do the power first and then see if we can come up with the root. Now, if you have a calculator, they do these for you. But you know, when you're doing an odd root like that, they're only going to have so many numbers for you to have to deal with, and they're not going to be very big, so it's something that I think you guys could figure out. So what I'm going to do is the cube root. What is 8 to the 2nd power? 64. So now what we're doing is we're thinking of perfect cubes. Let's try that. Let's try a list like we did squares. What's 1 to the 3rd power? 1 times 1 times 1. 1. What's 2 to the 3rd power? 2 times 2 times 2. 8. What about 3? So 3 times 3 times 3. 27. 4. 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, let's go ahead and do 5 while we're at it so you know what I'm doing. No, not 225. 125. Okay, that is my list of perfect cubes. So if you had a problem like this, you could easily figure out your list of perfect cubes. If for some strange reason they're going to give you fourths, which I don't think they will, they could give you cubes, that's what you do. So since we've got the cube root of 64, we would apply the cube root, and what number times itself 3 times gives us 64?
4.
So that would be 4. So 8 to the 2/3 power is 4. Questions?
So 4 is our answer?
4 is your final answer. Number 12, factoring x squared minus 8x plus 16. There is a shortcut that you can do with this, a perfect square trinomial, but I don't think we have time to deal with that. So we're just going to factor this. X squared, what do I put in my parentheses? X and x. Okay, that plus sign in front of the 16 tells me what?
They're going to be the same.
The signs are the same, and what sign are they?
Negative.
Yep. Factor pair of 16 that adds up to 8. 4 and 4. Now, when I said perfect square trinomial, look at that. Isn't this the same as what is that?
Yes.
Okay. If you have a perfect square trinomial, you can factor it either way. Okay. Any questions on factoring? Number 13. If f of x equals 3x minus 1, find the value of f of 4. We did this in the first 9 weeks. What does f of 4 mean to do with that problem? Ethan? Not take the whole thing times 4. Look at how the function notation is written here at the beginning. See how it says f of x, and then for the answer they want you to find f of 4. So they put 4 in place of x. So Julia, what do you think that means? You put 4 in for x in the problem. So 3 times 4 minus 1. That's what they want you to do. We did this in the first quarter. 3 times 4 minus 1. Now we follow order of operations. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 1. So f of 4 equals 11. Okay, anybody still writing red? All right. So number 14, it looks like they've got some a lot of steps for us to do on that. So let me see here. It says a slope has line of 2 and passes through 3, -5. Write its equation in point slope form, slope intercept form, and standard form. Okay, so let's look at point slope form. I don't think we used that very much. Point slope form was this: y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. That is point slope form. Okay? And just to clarify, slope intercept, who can tell me what that is? We use that all year. Julia?
Y equals mx plus b.
Y equals mx plus b. And then finally, standard form. We talked about that a few days. What's standard form? Julia?
Isn't it y plus, x plus y equals the constant?
It's very close. Capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. That's standard form. And we've dealt with that a few times, okay? So basically what we're doing here is you're interchanging between the three just to make sure that you can. So they've given us this point, 3, -5. That's my x1, y1. And then my slope is 2. So here's what we would write. Y minus -5 equals 2 times the quantity x minus 3. The first thing that I'm going to fix, we don't do double signs. So what is y minus negative 5? Plus. Okay? So here's now what I would write. Y plus 5 equals, oh, sorry. You know what? This is my first answer right here. That is point slope form. Now they want me to change it to slope intercept form. So that means that you distribute 2x minus 6. What's keeping that now from being in slope intercept form? Only one thing. The 5. So I'm going to subtract 5. And y equals 2x minus 11. So that is slope intercept form. And then finally, standard form. What I'm going to do to go to standard form is I'm going to subtract 2x from each side. And I get negative 2x plus y equals negative 11. Does anybody remember the rules about standard form? There's 2 or 3 rules. First of all, a has to be positive, greater than 0. And no fractions. And no greatest common factor other than 1.
So you divide it by -2?
No, we just have to get rid of that negative 2, and so we're multiplying by a negative 1. So 2x minus y equals 11. That's my third and final answer to that problem. So you first put it in slope intercept, or point slope, sorry, point slope. Then you change it to slope intercept, and then you can pretty easily change it to standard form, but you got to remember the a has to be positive. There can be no fractions. If there are, you're going to do the kill the fraction thing. And then no greatest common factor other than 1.